And it all starts with what we call as our Retirement Shield 360 system. We were a believer that you need to have a process, and we don't want to. And we built this on all the challenges we just talked about. Whether it's be how to separate yourself from others, how to ignite your marketing, how to get better conversions, how to build trust faster, how to make sure you're not doing this on your own. That's where this comes in, and it all comes down to what's most important to you. Is it developing trust? Is it getting more referrals? Is it maybe you're doing seminars, or maybe you had a bad experience? You're trying to, how do I, but you're hearing that seminars are the way to go, but how do you get better results from your seminars? Or maybe you're at a position where you're ready to scale and get even bigger. Maybe you're trying to grow a team. And how are you going to do that? Based on a process that already exists, that's been proven. That's what we're trying to show with the Retirement Shield system. And that's where it comes down to. Today's topic is how we build credibility and how we make that credibility turn into profits for your practice. And it's all built around our credibility course. So just so you guys know, the Retirement Shield system, we have 4 key courses that we provide our agents and advisors. And a big piece of that is doing podcasts, books, and even getting a certification at no cost when you go through the full course. And what we're going to cover are some of the benefits of what you can, of what a book can do and what a podcast can do. And again, like I talked about earlier, how we make it easy for you to come in and get it started. And again, it's all part of our executive member program that's built into the Retirement Shield system. Again, it all brings everything together in one place, so that makes it easy for you to get started. Michael, I think this is a good time for us to maybe, before we dive into the specifics of what that looks like, I think we want to invite one of our agents in the field to share a little bit of what they're doing with the program. I think we had Johnny Roberts, actually, if you want to tee it up. I'm actually going to replay a recorded some feedback he gave us here just recently.
Yeah, Johnny's he's a Retirement Shield guy. He's up in Michigan, and he started with Retirement Shield with seminars. Then he upgraded to the book program, and I think that's what we're going to hear him. I talked with him yesterday or the day before, and he just recorded a short statement of what he has found in being part of the program and how a book has really helped him.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and play it, and we'll spend a few minutes here. Here we go.
For a minute about the whole process that Retirement Shield has really helped me personally and with my agency. It's been a great few-year run. Started out working with the seminars, and I never done anything like that before. I've been in the business a long time, but the seminars were kind of like turnkey ready. They just got you up and going. The presentation was great. Everyone I've ever talked to, that's come to meet with me, has said, the presentation was really cool because you talked about so many different things, and it was really interesting. We didn't try to push any products on them or anything like that. It was just a good conversation. So it started with that, and then as me personally trying to transition, building the credibility, the turnkey approach of the whole program now transitions to the book. I started with the regular book, which was really cool and something to hand out to folks. And like Mike says, and Phil always says, man, after about a year. And it wasn't all at one time I did all this. It was as things kind of took off, baby steps at a time, kind of transitioned into it. So I got the authored book, which it kind of made it even more special because, your name's on there specifically as the author. You have your chapter in there, and people learn about you personally. And a lot of people come in and once again and really appreciate that and have read that. I've had people, hey, can I get another copy to hand out? That type of thing. I had a guy just call me literally 3 days ago. He's from the seminar about 6 weeks ago. And he said, hey, I wanted to make an appointment with you. I didn't recognize the name, of course. And then I said, oh, no problem. He goes, I read your book, and I was I said, how'd you hear about me? He goes, who referred you? He goes, oh, I was at one of your seminars a couple months ago, and I read your book and been watching some of the podcasts, which I'll talk about in just a second, and I want to make an appointment with you. So even if you got, 3 out of 4 of those a year sales off that approach of everything, it's awesome. And then I added the podcast into what I'm doing, which is kind of fun to do anyway. It's really cool. We got a YouTube channel going as well that puts a podcast out there, Apple, Spotify, and we talk about it during the seminars to get people listening and watching. What it does is it keeps you in front of people. So everybody that registers, even if they don't come to the seminar, and they're getting that weekly email drip from me, new episode by Johnny Roberts, blah, 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 you know, that kind of thing. And you never know whose mind it might tickle at the right time of year. Because as you know, in this business, man, sometimes these sales take months. But if people don't forget about you by you continuing to get in front of them, and the podcast is one awesome tool for that. It's not just an article, but if they watch it on YouTube or Spotify or Apple, but if they watch it on YouTube, and they're seeing your face, you're a real person. You're talking about current events, talking about your family some. I'm wearing a Tigers hat, you know, how much we love the Detroit Tigers and just all kinds of cool things. So the whole process of everything really turns turnkey. And Mike is really awesome with the podcast because we go back and forth. It's like a co-host, but he produces the whole thing. So it's kind of really professional sounding and something I would never do on my own or thought about doing, you know, or thought about it, but everyone, you know, it's like, oh, that's so complicated. It never will. But for the investment, once again, someone calling you, hey, I shared your podcast. Watch your podcast on YouTube. Really cool. I want to talk to you about this or that. Such a small investment in your business, so to say, that can really give you profitability along the way. And existing clients even, you know, check it out. And, oh yeah, I want to go see Johnny again about this or that. So, and I recommend it. Like I said, it's kind of like a turnkey thing, all the way from seminar.
Man, I just want to pause right there real quick and just acknowledge Johnny has been a formidable force when it comes to what he's doing now versus what he did just 2 or 3 years ago. This is a guy that, you know, had nothing to do with annuities, and you know, he was actually in mortgage protection. He didn't, you know, I know he didn't mention that, but he was mainly doing mortgage protection, and he adopted every part of our process. He mentioned seminars, but it was really the book and the podcast that really gave him that confidence to really enhance every part of his business and get back in front of the clients that he's working with and show, you know, really what he does in a personal way. But Michael, what are your thoughts there, just based on what you just said?
Well, you just nailed it there, in a personal way. Because Johnny, so I'm his co-host on the podcast, and we start every podcast just, hey, what's going on, Johnny? And it's like, hey, you got a Detroit Tigers hat. What's going on? We talked about the Detroit Tigers, right? And we do it because the marketing principle is people buy who you are more than what you do. And people connect with Johnny because that's how he shows up on his podcast. That's how he shows up in seminars, and that's how he shows up in individual one-on-one appointments. He is the same guy. So when people watch his podcast on YouTube and things, and what we've been able to do is help him amplify his digital footprint by doing a book and a podcast. Now he can put that on YouTube, has his own YouTube channel now. He can put it on social media, and he can email his audience every week. And it's all because we meet once 1 hour a month to record his podcast. And he gets all of that digital footprint, all of those people listening and reading, because he has taken that step to create a book and do a podcast. And as you just heard him say, it's just super simple. And so he's doing the right things because he's not necessarily promoting products. We hardly ever talk about product. We talk about the vacation. You started this thing with a vacation to the that cruise, wherever it is, right? That I want to go on that, right? That's okay. How do I get there? And that is how he and I talk about on the podcast. I don't talk about the new annuity that will give you 7% bonus and all. Nobody cares. We talk about guaranteed income for life and the stress relief, and that's the vacation. That's the cruise that they want. How do I get that? I get that by talking with Johnny, by getting a copy of his Amazon best-selling book, by listening to his podcast. That's how we get it. And so he has done a phenomenal job of bolstering his credibility through these very simple methods that allow him to amplify his footprint in a dozen different ways.
Yeah. And for those who are just joining us, again, if you have any questions, we're going to be going over, you know, we're going over the topic of credibility enhancements and how to turn it into profit utilizing books and podcasts. And many of you who are watching this, again, if you're in the annuity and insurance industry, financial planning, you know, a lot of, you know, you've seen people have books or maybe you've heard about podcasts. And what we're here to talk about is how we make it easy for you to do, how you don't want to lose out on opportunities to build that credibility, to get a few more points, as Johnny had said, right? He's using the books, the podcast to get 3 or 4 more deals a year, and that pays for itself. And we're going to show you how easy it is through the Retirement Shield process. But as you talked about, that connection that people are making, I think, I like to refer to it as a bridge. Many of you who are in life insurance, Medicare, mortgage protection, final expense, tax planning, health and disability, many of you who have built a book, an aging book that's already entering retirement, you've always had access to annuities, or maybe you've sold annuities, but you're trying to figure out, how do I segue into that conversation into retirement planning, because you've never brought it up before. And really, that's really what we're talking about. How do we make that connection to let people know about what you do in retirement when it comes to protecting people's retirement through annuities or life insurance? And that's where, Michael, we're talking about it right now. What are the benefits of having a book, right?
Yeah.
Establish expertise. You're going to attract the ideal client, right? Because if you have the right message, they're going to be attracted to, to the title, wherever it is that you're talking about, specific to, retirement planning. It's going to enhance your brand, right? Having a book's enhance your brand. It's going to help you build trust faster. But what are some of the challenges to having a book, right? If you ever dove into it, I'm talking about from start to finish, it could take 6 to 8 months easily to get that put together. How about the content? How do you have the right conversation so it's actually keeping your clients captivated? A lot of times it lacks a framework where it draws them in through storytelling. Client appeal, right? The title, the message that connects. How do you have a book that actually has a substantial amount of content that makes them want to draws them in to want to meet with you? And then last but not least, Michael, let's talk about the cost. Is this out of the realm of the scope of what it could cost to have your own book?
Nope. If you got a custom book, that's spot on, buddy.
$25,000 to $40,000 to have your own book. So, hey, many of you who have the disposable, income coming in, where you're like, man, you can make that big investment. We have options where you can do that. But we say, for most agents, most advisors, most individuals in this business, they don't have the time, they don't have the stories, and may not even have the financial bearing to put down 25 to 40,000. So what's the answer? Well, the answer is co-licensing the Retirement Shield book. And again, it's all part of our system. This is one component of that system, which is our credibility course, which gives you access to have your own book. Let's talk about it, Michael. What is the Retirement Shield book? How do we get it started? And why is this something that agents are watching this? Why should they consider doing it this way versus this way? Doing it from scratch.
Yeah, it's faster and easier this way because you've already written the book. So Phil created this book, The Retirement Shield, and it allows you to have a book to hand off to people. And even if you just do the very basic minimum presented by, where your name and information's on the back and you don't write anything to it, it still gives you credibility because you are part of a team of financial advisors across the nation who are helping people. And then we go to the next level and customize it for you like Matt did, and your own cover and title. But the reality is, it's speed to market. We can get these books created in 30 to 45 days. It bolsters your credibility. It gives you something different to offer somebody. Instead of a brochure or a business card, how about reading a copy of my book? Johnny just said, I've had people say, hey, I've read your book. When you have a prospect, a lead, if you're buying leads or you go seminars, give them a copy of your book. And when they read your book and then they set that appointment, or they come to that first appointment and say, hey, I read your book, dude, you have built so much credibility, and they're already focused on solutions. Can you help me with that? How can we do that? Now you're talking solutions, selling that vacation, that cruise, not trying to posture yourself as some expert. And who cares? Can you help me get on that cruise boat? Can you help me protect my family and the money I've saved all my life for? How can you? I read the story in your book about the roller coaster. How can you help me protect against the downside? That scares me to death. How can you? It positions you as a heart surgeon versus a general practice doctor. Nothing wrong with general practitioners. I want to get paid like a heart surgeon. If you want to get paid like a heart surgeon, you got to position yourself differently. That's what these books help you do. And the Retirement Shield process allows you to get your book in 30 to 45 days. And we teach you how to use your book to get more connections, more conversations, and more clients. That's why you should consider this. Or if you'd like to spend and invest $30,000, call me. But I'd rather you do it this way because it's faster and easier, and you're going to get such a growth momentum, a leverage in your business.
And to your point, you could spend the tens of thousands of dollars, but we're going to show you towards the end of our presentation today how you can have your own version of the Retirement Shield book, where you can even tell your own story. You can have your own, your name on the front, your bio on the back. Even extend this out to your digital footprint, whether it be your website, handouts for your bio, even your email signature. You can do all this and you can get it started for a fraction of the cost. When I say fraction, I'm talking about as little as $500. Just that small deposit to get it going is, it's unheard of in this business to do all the things that we're packaging together with the book and with the podcast. That's the power of this program. And that $500 that we're talking about is what's going to unlock not just the book and the podcast opportunities, but literally all the things that we talked about: credibility, content, connections, and even community. We're going to get into that here in just a few minutes as well. So in the conversation around the book, this is more than just just having a book and saying you have one. It's like you said, Michael, we are here to show you how to use that book. We don't want it sitting on the shelf. We want to make sure that's getting handed out as much as possible. It becomes your business card, as Johnny mentioned before, where you get to get that out and you're going to utilize it in all aspects of your marketing. And that's going to be a part of what we're going to be showing you how we do that through our training, through our coaching, and it's all provided at no cost. It's all built in to the Retirement Shield